The second I started sensing something was off, I couldn't shake it. I didn't want to believe it, but my gut wouldn't leave me alone. Let me rewind. My wife, let's call her M, had always been my person. We'd been married for 4 years, together for 6, and I thought we were solid. Not fairy tale perfect, but close enough. We joked around, debated movie choices, got into silly arguments about who left the lights on, and somehow always ended up laughing. She used to plan date nights like little adventures, and I'd meet her halfway with her favorite pad thai or a bottle of wine when she was wiped out. It worked. It felt like we'd nailed the whole relationship balance. And then, 6 months ago, it shifted. Slowly. Quietly. But real. She started carrying her phone everywhere, even when she'd just step out to grab laundry. It used to just lie on the table like an afterthought. I made a dumb joke one day, something like, "You got secrets now? Working for the CIA?" She just smiled and brushed it off. "Nah, just work. They're always blowing up my inbox lately." Cool. I let it go. But the very next week, she put a password on it. Never had one before. That's when I felt something tighten in my chest. She mumbled something about online safety and how everything's getting hacked these days. Reasonable, right? Still, it didn't sit right. Then came the weird calls. She'd step out as soon as her phone buzzed. Into the bedroom. Out on the deck. And if I asked who it was, always, "Just a friend from work." I tried to pretend it didn't bother me, but it did. Especially when she started leaving her phone face down. One time I reached across the table and her reflexes kicked in. She yanked the phone away before I even realized what I was reaching near. Quick. Subtle. But my brain logged it. It wasn't just the phone. She seemed checked out, like her mind was always somewhere else. Conversations that used to be effortless were now one-word responses. If I brought up plans, our anniversary, maybe replacing the car, she'd nod and quickly change the subject. And then came the moment that shook me. One Wednesday, she said she was grabbing coffee with a friend after work. Totally normal for her. I was out nearby running errands, thought I'd surprise her. Just swing by, say hi. But when I pulled up to the cafe, she wasn't inside. She was outside pacing, phone to her ear, clearly deep in a serious conversation. I stayed in the car. Didn't mean to listen, but I caught fragments like, "Almost ready. Starting over soon." My whole body tensed. Starting over? What the hell was she talking about? Definitely didn't sound like a chat with a friend. Later that night, I asked about her coffee catch-up. She told me all about her friend's drama with some guy, how she was giving advice and being supportive. I smiled and nodded, but inside, my thoughts were running laps. Was I overthinking? Making up stories? Or was my gut trying to tell me something? I didn't sleep well that night. A few more days passed. I watched her closer, not like a cop, but like someone desperate to find sense in chaos. Then, out of nowhere, she brought up money. We were having dinner, normal weekday stuff, work updates, show recommendations, and she suddenly said, "We should get our finances organized." I blinked. What? She smiled like it was no big deal, just like passwords, account info, in case of an emergency. We'd never had this talk before. I asked, "What kind of emergency?" She shrugged. "Just smart to be prepared. What if something happens to one of us? Or we need to make a big decision fast?" Again, her answer made sense, on the surface. But it felt too clean, too prepared, like she'd been rehearsing it. I said something like, "Yeah, maybe that's smart, but inside, sirens. Why now? Why this sudden focus on finances?" That night, I tossed and turned. My mind kept flashing back to her call outside the cafe. "Starting over soon." I didn't do anything right away, just let it simmer. But 2 days later, she circled back to it. We were in the kitchen, me making a sandwich, her half distracted on her phone, and she dropped it again. Hey, do you know where all the bank details are? Like, should we make a list or something? I set down the knife, turned slowly. Okay, what's really going on? I asked, tried to keep it calm but firm. You've been talking about money a lot lately. Is something wrong? She looked up like I'd startled her, then quickly smiled. No, nothing's wrong. I just think it's responsible. That's all. Emergency stuff? I asked again. She nodded, but her eyes gave away nothing. Just that same calm face, like she'd practiced this answer 100 times. I don't know, just life stuff. It's nothing serious, I promise. I just think it's something we should get on top of, she said. But it felt off, too vague, too smooth, like she was covering something. I nodded and dropped it in the moment, but inside, I couldn't let it go. It didn't feel like a casual suggestion anymore. It felt like there was something she didn't want me to see. So the next day, while she was out at work, I sat down at my desk and pulled up our joint accounts. At first glance, nothing looked crazy. But then I spotted a few small transfers. Just little amounts. Nothing huge. But none of them had clear reasons. They weren't tagged for bills, not for groceries or rent. Just gone. Quietly moved. I didn't want to leap to conclusions, but it sure looked like she was moving money without telling me. I debated confronting her, but if I was wrong, I'd sound paranoid. And if I was right, I needed a plan. So I called someone I trusted, an old college buddy, now a lawyer. I explained everything, trying not to sound like a guy deep in conspiracy. After I finished, he paused and said, Look, I'm not saying something is definitely up, but you're not crazy. If you're worried, now's the time to be smart about it. Protect what's yours. He walked me through some legal basics. Nothing wild, just how to secure my assets without throwing up. Red flags. And as he spoke, I realized he was right. It felt extreme. Like I was laying the groundwork for a war that hadn't even started. But I couldn't ignore my gut anymore. Something wasn't right. If she really was planning something behind my back, I couldn't sit on my hands and hope for the best. I had to protect myself, but it wasn't just numbers on a page. This was our life. I kept thinking about the day we got married, the late-night conversations, all the laughter that used to feel endless. How did we even get here? Taking these steps felt like surrendering the trust we once had. That night, while she was out, I opened my laptop, heart pounding. I logged into every account, savings, investments, even the house documents. I reviewed everything, line by line, feeling like I was betraying her. But deep down, I knew this wasn't about revenge. It was about protecting myself from the fallout I feared was coming. I made a detailed list, what I could move, how to do it quietly, and then I called my mom. I didn't give her all the details, just enough. Can you hold a few things for me? Nothing sketchy, I promise. Just a safety net, I said. She was quiet at first. Are you okay? She asked. Yeah, I lied. Just a precaution. She agreed, voice calm but unsure. Whatever you need, sweetheart. When I hung up, I felt torn, part guilt, part relief. I hated involving her in this mess, but knowing she was there gave me a strange sense of peace. By the time Em got back home that night, the wheels were already turning. I'd moved the bulk of our savings and my personal investments. Even the house was now legally in my mom's name. The joint account still had enough to look normal, but everything else? Locked down. She didn't suspect a thing. Walked in, kissed my cheek, asked if I wanted to watch something together. I played along, like everything was fine. But my stomach was in knots. A part of me felt like a traitor. The other part felt like I was finally breathing again. Over the next week or two, I kept everything normal. She didn't seem suspicious. In fact, she was oddly upbeat. Almost too upbeat, like nothing had changed. But that made me more paranoid, not less. It felt like she was trying to sell me on something, like she was buttering me up. What was strange, though, was how she completely stopped bringing up the finances. Not a single mention after I called her out last time. At first, I thought maybe she just dropped it. Maybe I'd overreacted. But no, that wasn't her. She never let go of something she thought was important. So why go silent now? It didn't feel like forgetting. It felt like waiting. And every now and then, I'd catch her watching me. Quick glances, like she was trying to read my face or check if I was still clueless. The moment I'd meet her, she'd snap her focus back to whatever she was doing. She didn't want to bring it up again. That much was clear. Maybe she thought she'd pushed too far, or maybe she was just waiting for the perfect moment. Whatever it was, I wasn't going to play along. I wasn't giving her anything. I kept quiet, observing, preparing. Every night, I reviewed the documents, the trusts, the transfers, everything. The house was secure. The funds were cleanly moved. My mom had all the right papers, and I even made sure everything was bulletproof. No loopholes, no missing signatures. I was ready. But still, nothing happened. 2 weeks passed and things almost felt peaceful. Too peaceful. She started acting more affectionate, randomly texting me during the day, telling me she missed me, asking if I wanted takeout or to go on a walk. For a second, I let my guard slip. Maybe I'd misjudged. Maybe all the secrecy had been work stress, or hormones, or something I didn't fully get. But then, on a quiet Friday night, she turned off the TV, sat next to me on the couch, and said, "We need to talk." My stomach sank. I knew what was coming before she even said it. "I think we should get a divorce." Her voice was steady, practiced, not angry, not sad, just businesslike. Like she was telling me she'd canceled our internet plan. I stared at her, and she kept talking about space, self-discovery, how she felt like she'd lost herself in the marriage. All the classic lines, but none of it really explained anything. Then she said something that hit different. "I've made a lot of sacrifices for you over the years," she told me, not looking up. "And I don't think you ever really appreciated it. I deserve more." That part cut deep, not because she wanted out, but because she was painting me as the villain, like everything that happened was my fault, and this divorce was her claiming what she believed she was owed. I sat there, trying to take it all in, but a single thought started looping in my mind. Why now? And then she dropped a sentence that made it all start to come together. "A friend of mine has been helping me see things more clearly," she said, her eyes still avoiding mine. A friend. I didn't interrupt, just let her keep going while my mind started spinning. Who was this friend? Why were they so involved in my marriage? She said it too intentionally for it to be casual. It sounded like someone had been coaching her, pushing her to see our relationship as some kind of trap she had to escape from. And as she kept going on about all she'd given up and how she'd put me first for so long, I couldn't help but sit there stunned. Sacrifices? What sacrifices? She said she'd been happy. At least that's what she used to tell me. I worked hard to give her everything she wanted. Not just money, but support. When she wanted to move closer to her job, I agreed, even though it added time to my commute. Last year, when she signed up for that pricey yoga retreat, I made sure we shuffled our budget so she could go, even though it meant scrapping the trip I'd been saving for. I supported her through 2 career switches, told her to take the leap, both times because I wanted her to be fulfilled. I wasn't distant or cold. I was present. I remembered our anniversaries and those little things she'd mention offhand. I'd plan dates when she felt stuck, listen to her go on about work, or friends or whatever was on her mind. Sure, I wasn't perfect, but I never stopped trying. So for her to sit there and say she deserved more? I didn't buy it. It wasn't me. Something had shifted inside her. Whether it was this friend whispering in her ear or something else, the person across from me wasn't the woman I married. And I wasn't about to let her rewrite the whole story just to justify walking away. I didn't argue. I nodded, kept my tone neutral. If that's how you feel, I guess we'll figure out the next steps. She looked surprised I didn't fight back or try to talk her out of it, but my focus was already somewhere else. I needed to know what or who was behind this sudden calculated move. Because this wasn't random. She didn't just wake up one day and decide she was done. This had planning written all over it. After that conversation, she went back to her own place, and the following Monday, the divorce papers showed up. And, let me tell you, this wasn't a clean break. She was coming for everything. Half the house, my savings, investments, even the car. And to top it off, there was this vague line about spousal support, which didn't even make sense since she had a steady income. It wasn't just overkill, it was strategic. She wanted everything, and someone had clearly helped her put this together. I started thinking maybe it wasn't just her being emotional. Maybe someone was guiding her through this, step by step. So I started digging. I couldn't exactly ask her who she'd been talking to, so I got creative. I scrolled. Through her socials, she hadn't blocked me. She wasn't a big poster, but I checked everything. Tags, likes, comments. That's when I noticed a name that kept popping up, Jake. He wasn't commenting anything sketchy, but he was consistent. Likes, encouragement, supportive emojis. I clicked on his profile. It was public. At first glance, he looked like any average guy in his 30s, worked in marketing. But as I kept scrolling, I found something that turned my stomach. A photo he posted at the same cafe I'd seen her at weeks ago. Same day, even. I kept going. There were subtle signs. A "you've got this" on one of her posts. A selfie. That looked like it was taken inside her new apartment. Nothing blatant, but it connected enough dots to make me feel sick. I didn't know what to do with it yet, but I knew I had to keep going. Her mentioning a friend helping her? It wasn't random. Someone was playing a bigger role in this than I had realized. I reached out to someone I thought might know, Lisa. She and my wife had been close for years. If anyone had the inside scoop, it would be her. I kept it casual, asked if she'd heard from Em lately, if anything had seemed off. She shut it down, fast, said she didn't know anything about any friend or advice. The way she spoke felt rushed, like she didn't want to get caught in the middle. I didn't press, but I wasn't done. I called Emily, another mutual friend. Started the same way, kept it light at first. She danced around my questions, gave vague answers. But when I pushed a little more, she suddenly ended the call. It left me even more suspicious. I sat there for a while, trying to decide if I was reaching. Then, to my surprise, Emily called me back. She said she had to be careful. Whatever she told me couldn't come back to her. I swore I wouldn't say a word. And after a long pause, she finally told me the truth. My wife had been spending a lot of time with someone named Jake, a guy from work. Emily didn't know all the details, but from what she'd heard, Jake had been giving her advice, personal advice, especially about the divorce. Hearing his name was like a puzzle piece snapping into place. This wasn't about her just being lost or unsure. There was someone else actively guiding her out of our marriage, and I needed to understand why. I didn't want a screaming match or drama. I wanted clarity. So that weekend, I drove out near her new place, parked down the block, just wanted to see something. With my own eyes. Sure enough, a few hours later, she walked out of her building with Jake. They didn't hold hands or anything, but the way they walked, close, quiet, leaning in, was enough. They got in his car and left. I didn't follow. I didn't need to. That was all the confirmation I needed. She hadn't just fallen out of love. She'd been planning her exit. With help. With him. And suddenly, everything, her weird behavior, the sudden focus on finances, the demands in those divorce papers, made perfect, painful sense. She wasn't just leaving me. She was trying to leave me with nothing. She had someone backing her the whole time, step by step. I went home that night with my thoughts running wild. The betrayal was bad enough, but what crushed me was how strategic it all was. She wasn't just leaving me. She was building something new with Jake and using the divorce to bankroll it. But she had no clue how far ahead I'd thought. The first mediation session was tense. The second we walked in, her lawyer showed up with a stack of papers so thick you'd think he was suing a corporation. He read through her demands like it was all totally reasonable. Half the house, every dollar in savings, the investments, the car, and then some nonsense about spousal support. I didn't say a word. I let it play out, waiting for my lawyer to speak. When he finally did, he slid a clean folder across the table and said, "Before we proceed, I think it's important everyone reviews these." Her lawyer opened the file, started flipping through, and his entire face changed. His confidence cracked as he skimmed the pages. "What is this?" he asked, now visibly unsettled. My lawyer stayed calm. "These are legally notarized documents confirming the transfer of all key assets to a trust in my client's mother's name. Everything was moved weeks before this filing. It's a done deal." Silence. Her lawyer turned to her, obviously annoyed. "You didn't mention this," he said. She grabbed the folder, flipping through it, her face going red. "This isn't real," she snapped. But it was. Notarized signatures. Clear dates. Everything locked tight. She turned to me, furious. "You planned this?" she hissed, like I'd stabbed her in the back. "You knew I was going to file and set this up to screw me over." I didn't flinch. I let her sit in it. Her lawyer asked for clarification, and mine walked them through it again. Clear, methodical, bulletproof. Every transfer was done before her filing. Every signature was valid. The trust couldn't be touched. They had no play left. She was livid. "You're unbelievable," she spat, leaning forward. "How could you do this to me?" Still, I stayed, silent. There was nothing left to explain. I didn't do this to her. I did this for me, because she'd made it clear she wasn't going to walk away without trying to take me down with her. We wrapped up. Her lawyer mumbled about needing to revisit their position, but we all knew the game was over. On the way out, she caught me in the hallway, her eyes blazing. "This isn't over," she growled. "You'll regret this." I finally looked at her and said, "I already regret trusting you. That's the only thing I regret." After that, everything went downhill, for her. She unraveled fast. It started with calls, so many. At first, she sounded sweet, polite even. "I think we should just talk," one voicemail said. "I know this got messy, but maybe we can fix it." But I didn't answer. And the tone shifted fast. Within a day, she was crying in one message and screaming in the next. "You're ruining everything," followed by, "I made a mistake. Please just call me back." I ignored them all. My lawyer had told me not to respond, and truthfully, I didn't want to. I was done letting her control the narrative, but she didn't stop. When the direct approach failed, she started twisting the story. Suddenly, friends of ours started reaching out, confused. She was telling everyone the divorce was a joke, a test. Some weird prank to see how strong our marriage was. A prank. Really? But her lies didn't hold up for long. People started asking obvious questions. Why file official paperwork if it was just a joke? Or, why hire a lawyer and demand assets if you weren't serious? When her test story started crumbling, she changed it again. Said she never expected it to go this far. that I had overreacted and turned it into something ugly. She made herself the victim, claimed I betrayed her. At first, some people seemed to fall for it. I got texts like, "Hey man, I didn't know it was that bad." Her brother even messaged me, accusing me of being heartless. But I kept quiet. I knew the truth would come out. And it did, thanks to Matt. We weren't that close, just friendly. He reached out a couple of weeks after the mediation, said he had something I needed to see. We met up, and he pulled out his phone. "How'd you get this?" I asked, scrolling, through a series of texts between her and Jake. He told me a mutual friend of Jake's had shared them, someone who started to feel sick about how far things had gone. Jake had been bragging, apparently, talking about how he was helping her secure her future. When it became clear what that meant, bleeding me dry, the friend felt guilty and gave the screenshots to Matt, who passed them on to me. "This guy's been playing her," Matt said, shaking his head. "Feeding her lines, making her think she'd come out on top." I kept scrolling. The texts were sickening. She wasn't just venting to Jake. She was planning the whole thing with him. "Once the settlement's done, we'll have everything we need," one message read. His reply? "Don't back down. Make him feel guilty. He owes you. We'll start fresh once you've got the money." I stared at the screen, hands numb. This wasn't miscommunication. It was manipulation, cold and deliberate. I thanked Matt and walked out of that meeting with everything I needed. It explained all of it: her distance, her financial obsession, her aggression. Every part of the divorce plan was fed to her by this guy. The texts spread. Matt shared them with a couple of trusted people. And from there, word got out. Fast. Her entire narrative started to fall apart. People who had been neutral, even supportive of her, stopped buying what she was selling. Even her closest friends backed away. By the time the divorce was finalized, she walked away with nothing but her clothes and whatever she could carry. Her lawyer quietly dropped her after realizing there was nothing left to fight for. All those demands? Gone. The trust? Ironclad? Untouchable. Jake? He vanished. Like a ghost. The moment it became clear she wasn't walking away with any of the riches he'd promised, he disappeared. I wouldn't be shocked if he had been using her the whole time, feeding her dreams, fueling her ego, then bolting the second it all crumbled. With him out of the picture, she broke. The calls returned, but different now. Desperate, not angry, just begging. "Please, just talk to me. I'll drop everything, I swear." Another said, "You don't have to forgive me. Just don't. Hate me." I made a mistake. But I didn't respond. I couldn't. Too much had been broken. There was no fixing it. Her family started pulling away too. Even her brother called me to apologize. "I didn't know what she was doing," he said. "I was wrong to assume. I'm sorry, man." As for me, I kept the house, my savings, my peace. My mom, like always, had my back. She came over with paint swatches and fresh energy, helping me turn the house into mine again, not ours. And, for the first time in years, life feels calm, solid, like I'm finally breathing again. No more paranoia, no more lies, just peace. She's a chapter that's closed now. I don't reread it, I don't miss it. And the rest of the story? That's mine to write.